Good morning, folks. Something a little bit different today. Brian here, Geomagnetic Earthwatch, on Thursday, February 9, 2023, from inside my little winter greenhouse. So we're going to be talking about food this morning. The importance of food security and what we should be doing to prepare, but I'm going to be harshly realistic. So this is just this is my unheated winter greenhouse in southern British Columbia. Before I start talking about today's subject, so in the wintertime, there's a lot of cold, hardy vegetables that you can grow from. One moment. Your kale, Swiss chard, bok choy, a variety of spinaches, etc., etc. Anyway, let's get on with today's talk. You got to get serious about preparing for upcoming food shortages and food insecurity. And the problem is you can only store so much dry and canned goods, perhaps to a maximum of 2 years worth, with the exception of freeze-dried, as well as your buckets of rice and buckets of beans, which can store for 25 years, but they're going to be getting pretty bland after the first year. So everybody should have a substantial amount, whether it's 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months or more, of stocked food items. Yes, this means canned food, your soups and your dried packages. For example, anything that only needs water, not milk. Assume we're going to have a milk shortage. So when you start stocking up on things like these packages here, check how you prepare them. Right? Do you need milk, or can you do it with just water, for example? Right? Anyway, I'll get back to that. Now we're going to need you're going to need your stock of food, stored food. A variety of food, okay? So you have a choice each day for 5 consecutive days, for example. Your dried noodle packages, your pastas, which can store a long time, your pasta sauce that can store a long time, your canned soup, your good soups, pancake mixes, etc. So you have a choice each day. Excuse the noise, it's a garbage truck. So you're going to need a good stock of food to last you. I mean, I'm up to 8 months. Right? You got to keep on doing it, and you have to rotate it. Stock up on the food that you like to eat, and keep on replacing it and putting it in the back. So you're going to need it for in the event of natural disasters, for example, periods of civil unrest, the next lockdown, any situation where you can't get to your local Walmart or wherever to get your food. But your stockpile of food really is to get you through a transition period, going from being dependent on the corporation system for your food to being totally self-sufficient, but under very difficult growing conditions. Right. So the difficulties, and again, I'm being blunt, I'm being realistic, okay? The difficulties in growing your own food are, we're having our increased ultraviolet sea level radiations coming in because of our weakening magnetosphere, breaking down our ozone layer, allowing increased levels of UVC, which both burns the crops and affects the plant's DNA, reducing the size, quantity, and quality of the fruit or vegetable, potatoes, for example. And I'm going to show you one example of what UV radiation does to potatoes if they're not protected by polycarbonate panels. So this is last year. These are some of my potatoes that suffered DNA damage. This is DNA damage from increased ultraviolet sea level radiation coming in. It goes through the leaves, through the stems, down into the roots. I had 97 potato plants last summer, and I had them divided. Some were covered by a shade cloth only, which did nothing. Some were fully exposed, and the rest were underneath polycarbonate panels. These were the ones that was covered in a shade cloth, which doesn't do anything to shield UV radiation. Next, as we get into grand solar minimum period, increased cloud nucleation, atmospheric compression, we're going to have a lot of extended cloud cover for an extended period of time, reducing the much needed sunlight the plants need for photosynthesis. We're in our 4th month here, and we've had maybe 3 or 4 full days of sunlight here. That is it. So you need to be able to keep on growing throughout the winter months, for example. Therefore, you need your supplemental artificial lighting. A lot of it. Now, so the next problem that we're eventually going to have is when our grid goes down, we're going to lose our lighting. So problem number 3 is future lack of seeds. You need to learn to save your seeds from your vegetable plant. That seed has adapted to your specific region's conditions and thus will be more resilient for the next season, which will be even more harsh. Seeds. You can store seeds, you can even freeze seeds. Me, when I go out and buy a packet of seeds this spring, that's for 2 years from now. I always have 2 years worth of seeds. So you need to start buying your seeds, non-GMO seeds. Now, speaking of seeds, I used to be a microgreen grower. And this is going to be my next fear coming up. So microgreen seeds, bok choy, for example, this is 1 kilogram. If you want to get into growing microgreen seeds, this is how many seeds you need. So a 10 by 20 tray takes 11 grams of seeds of this size, and this is 1 kilogram. So this will last, I don't know, a few months for, say, 2 people. So you need to think about where you're going to get your seeds from. Bok choy actually is, a lot of Chinese eat bok choy. And the reason why they eat bok choy is because it's good for immune system boosting. So when you have that bland bucket of rice, mix them with some nutritious microgreens. later on in a couple of months or a month or so, I'll do a video on showing you how to grow your own microgreens. So fourth, I already just finished saying it, your loss of power. Eventually, if we're going to lose the grid through a large enough solar flare or EMP or whatever, with that increased cloud cover for extended period of times, nothing's going to grow. Never mind a VEI 7 or larger volcanic eruption or several eruptions causing a year without summer, such as Tambor 1815, the following year without summer, for example. There's one thing a lot of people don't think about. When the next major volcanic eruption pops off, it's the following year crops. All right, now in the United States, you have a lot of food shortages. I see all the videos. Up here in Canada, we only have 1/10 of the population. We have lots of food still on our shelves, lots. Now, your governments are seizing them for their bunkers and for your military. You take one aircraft carrier, 6,000 crew persons, 18 meals a day, not including all the support ships around that one aircraft carrier. You have 12 carrier fleets. Never mind all the rest of the Navy. Never mind your Army, your Marines, your Air Force. That's where all your food is going. In my opinion. Next, you need to talk about food preservation. You need to learn your canning first, and to do it safely. Second, you need your equipment and your supplies. So you need to start getting your equipment now, and more importantly, your supplies, especially your sealing lids. Mason jars, you can keep on reusing them. Your sealing lids with your rubber gasket, which creates the seal, you only use them once. You got to figure how many jars you're going to be doing that you're going to need for each year, and start buying these, because pretty soon you're not going to get these. And when everybody crews in at the same time, like at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody started their front yard vegetable patches and started canning and all that, and there was a great canning lid shortage. Now, a responsible prepper, we don't hoard. We buy a few at a time each time we go to Walmart. Buy 2, 3, 4 packs, right? I got 2,000 of these. That's only going to be about 5 years worth. Right. If you think you're going to be getting into canning a year from now, you better start stocking up on them now while you can get them, and everything else you're going to need. Your fruits only need a hot water bath. Your vegetables need a pressure canner, and those things are like $650, $700 Canadian right now. Next, you need to consider your soils, especially if you're growing in container, your bagged soils and your composts. Pretty soon you're not going to have them. Period. So you got to learn to compost your food waste, your leaves, your grass cuttings. That's a very long process. There's a hell of a lot that you need to learn once you either break away from the man and his system, or he breaks away from you and saying, sorry, no more of that in the grocery store for you, but we have a bowl of bugs for you instead. So right now you still have access to these supplies. I suggest you get off your butt and get going. Start your learning process, because for a lot of people it's going to be going from, oh honey, I'm just going to go down to Walmart and I'm just going to get, whatever, get some vegetables, loaf of bread, some soup, stuff like that. It's either not going to be there or it's going to cost way, way, way too much. So you're going to be going from that period of convenience, expensive convenience, to if you want to eat or eat healthy, you got to start doing it yourself. And you need your space, you need your time, you need your practiced knowledge and skills. And it's not just throwing some seeds in the ground, come back in 3 months. There's a lot you need to do in between. And if you don't do it right, for example, if you don't have enough light, you're not going to grow anything. On the other end of the spectrum, in the summertime, when you have a hell of a lot more UV coming in, you're going to have too much UV light. And it's going to burn the crap out of everything. This is UV damage, DNA damage from something that was in the soil, a foot deep. And these are things that no one else is talking about. All right. So as our protective magnetosphere becomes weaker and weaker and weaker because of the excursion and more cosmic rays coming in, is the cosmic rays, the secondary showering particles that's breaking down the ozone, thus allowing more UVC in. And certain areas over our planet are weaker than others. Me in British Columbia seems to be very, very, very weak. So anyway, it's a huge change of the mindset that you got to get into, and doing your own, being independent from the man and the corporate man. I think about 2 more years, and most of you are going to be eating your bowls of bugs. So get into it, start the learning process, start gathering up your supplies. Yeah, get your buckets of rice, make sure it's stored properly in your buckets of beans. That's the long-term storage. But you also want to incorporate some of this. All right, rice is starch. You need 2 things. You need your calories and you need nutrition. You're not going to get nutrition from buying anything. You're going to get nutrition from here. All right. And that's it for now, folks. I just wanted to change the backdrop scene for you. Now, got some more heat signatures coming up in the East Coast of the United States. I think we got some magma moving in. Get back to you.